Hello there, I'm Tim and he's John, and this is How to Murder Time, a podcast about games and things.
Hello everybody.
Watcher.
How do we do this again?
Oh gosh, it's been ages. How are you? I haven't seen you in ages.
No, it's been a whole month, hasn't it?
Yeah. How are you?
I am fine.
No, I was talking to them.
Oh,
They can't answer back.
No.
Oh, you can.
They can't hear either.
Fair enough.
I haven't posted these for the last 2 years.
Right, okay. Well, that's all right. This is mostly me having conversations with my own inner voices and you anyway.
Yeah.
So it's a sort of therapy. Welcome. Yes, it's good. I'm good. I've had a holiday. I've done some hiking. I've done another week hiking, survived. 3 weeks done now.
Yep.
So, spoiler alert, I lived. Yes. So
Didn't get killed by the storm?
No, the storm was right the week before, and I caught the tail end of it, and then glorious weather for the whole week. It was fantastic. I've done lots of little video clips, which I've passed over to the production team here.
Yes, I now need to watch them and have a holiday by proxy.
Yeah, I'm hiking, so you don't have to.
Most people just make you sit through a slideshow.
I
have to edit the
It's like a sort of 4-hour set of holiday photos that just won't. With me going all the way through. It's
4 hours.
Is it? I don't know. Oh yeah, but pre-edit.
There's 100 gig of files.
There's some of them were gaming video.
Yeah.
So that was good. So I'm now 240 miles down with 400 miles to go.
You're still walking away and not
I'm still walking
back.
away. No, next time in May 2019, when we're not allowed in Europe anymore, I will be going round the end.
Oh,
The next one, yeah, and it's some bleak old territory out there, I tell you. There's about the first 2.5 days going round from St Ives to Penzance, and there's nothing out there. I'm worried about I'm not even going to find enough water, let alone shops to buy food in. So it's going to be quite a rugged survival edition in May. But no, it was very, very touristy, this one. I didn't sleep in a hedge once. It was campsites all the way. It was quite a lot of bars. It was quite a lot of cream cheese and ice creams. Yeah.
there was quite a lot of beer photos.
Well, North Cornwall, it's like the Newquay stretch where basically all the touristy stuff is. And that was me being a
Surf
tourist.
capital of the UK.
Yeah, pretty much end of the season, so most of it was all winding down. But it was a really good holiday. I enjoyed it a lot. And hopefully you'll enjoy seeing some of what I enjoyed as well. Probably.
More people watch that than watch this.
I don't blame them, to be honest. Okay, well let's pizzazz this bit up a bit more. Let's talk about some games.
Yeah,
I'm going to start. And it's been a month, so I've had to write them down because my mind might be going a bit. Anyway, so I've written install all the things. Yes, because basically I have my big hard disk crasher of 018.
Yeah.
I'm still recovering from that, still reinstalling stuff bit by bit because I still don't have like a super mega connection that everyone else has. I'm still on I don't know, it's like 5 megabits or something.
Ooh.
I know it's some crappy ADSL thing still, but I just can't be bothered to sort it out. It's fast enough for online gaming, it's just the downloading.
You could just get fibre where you live.
Yeah, but then I'd have to capitulate to Virgin's sustained campaign of mailbox abuse.
Get Sky?
I get junk mail from them like constantly. I've got Sky. I'm on their stupid crappy dial-up there.
Oh, so great.
I just don't have the energy to deal with these people, and I don't really need it. I mean, once the things are installed, that's it. Yeah, actually playing online games typically doesn't.
I can
require
arrange for your hard
bandwidth.
drive to dial up more regularly if that helps.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Thank you. Yeah, but it was a 2 terabyte one that died. I've got a 4 terabyte one now, and I thought I got to fill it to the brim with gaming fun and goodness. And that's slowly taking a while to do. Basically I've installed pretty much every MMO I've ever played, including some that have died. So that's quite fun.
Why?
Yes, I'll get onto that. Let's see. What that was in my list a bit further down though.
You do the E word.
I got a list. What? E? Yeah. Anyway, no. But first of all, I'm going to do it. Yeah. So I've got about 40 or 50 games installed now. All the little icons in. I had to put them in folders.
40 or 50.
Yeah, I know.
I have to put them in folders.
Yeah, I know. That's it. Well, normally I pick 2 or 3 games and I relentlessly play them and really focus and really, get involved and absorb myself into it. But now I've got like 40 or 50 games in separate little folders. This is the online ones, here the offline ones, because I can't play the online ones while Steam is trying to hog all my bandwidth. So, I have to sort of schedule my gaming around my downloading of more games.
Have you not considered using the scheduling on it to tell it when to download stuff or to use lower bandwidth?
Well, I'm either the PC's off or I'm playing games on it. That's the problem. Anyway, but what this has done is it's meant I've not really that fascinated or engaged or involved in any of them. I've got this weird sort of flitty smorgasbord thing going on, and it's sort of starting to bleed into the gaming itself as well, because while I'm playing one thing, I'm sat there thinking, I'm getting a bit bored of this. Oh, I could be having fun in that other game. That thing where whilst you're in the act of doing one thing, you're already thinking about how good the next thing is going to be.
Yeah.
And that's really destructive. That's really damaging. And I really need to probably rein it all in and just pick a game or two and really focus on them. But so far, nothing's really caught my attention. Nothing's really grabbed me. And I'm wondering it's because I'm a hiker now and I don't really play computer games.
Yeah.
I dread the day when I grow up or grow out of gaming. You know, when I'll just sort of, after some disruption to my normal routine, I'll suddenly come back to it and think, this is all rubbish. I could be out there doing something else.
Yeah.
You know,
welcome to my last month.
Well, yeah, and it's worrying because it would fundamentally suggest that I, as a person, am changing out from under myself, and I worry about that. I don't like the idea of change.
I've just had
like being someone new.
I've just
or
had
different.
a month where I haven't really had a requirement to have a couple of games played to do a podcast. And that has really cut down on my gaming.
So we're going to have a talk about this, I think, because I worry that the only reason you're playing games is so that you've got two things to fill a 10-minute segment on this show about. Yeah.
Saying that, I am playing one of my favourite games ever now.
Well, this is a podcast about games and things.
Yes.
So you presume you're doing other stuff instead of playing your games. Oh, look, there we go.
Painting models.
There we go, painting models, yeah. We could talk about that. That's fine. I mean, we haven't really got many listeners at all or viewers who are particularly focused on any specific. This is why we never do the single game podcast.
Yeah.
The single game podcast or the single game blog or whatever is great when you're in the throes of it, but eventually you get a bit sick of your single game podcast, and then you've lost your reason to be doing your thing at all.
I was wondering if I should start up a single game podcast on the Matrix Online. Because one, I never played it. Two, it's incredibly cancelled.
You never played it, and no one else can play it now either. Yeah, I think you'd be a foremost authority on the subject. It would be sort of from an antiquarian perspective, like people who specialise in formations used during particular assaults in the First World War.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all of the features in it and all the updates and just assume they were all fantastic.
Well, they must have been because God, yeah. So it's all been a bit angsty and a bit philosophical of late, but I think perhaps that's just a bit stir crazy after having been out in the fresh air for a week. Yes, but I'll get there. I've seen favourites emerging and routine re-establishing itself a bit. I'm going to talk about Lord of the Rings Online, and my first one. I've written mounted combat there. I finally reached the mounted combat in Lord of the Rings Online.
This is the mounted combat that I assume is fantastic.
That was introduced about 2014 or 2013 or something. So it's about 4 or 5 years old, this feature.
Oh, that was in last time I played.
I don't. Yeah, well, yeah. It was
I didn't get as far as to go look at it.
It's the Riders of Rohan expansion. Is the mounted combat was the big thing, and I've only just got there on this current replay through. My stubborn Saturday playthrough of trying to get the entire story done as a kind of weird grudge match marathon thing. I mean, I've long since gotten bored of the basic nature of questing gameplay, hotkey combat, cooldown clocks, targeting, all that thing, and that stretches across to pretty much all the games I'm playing, which is part of the reason I'm not sticking in any of these MMOs I'm playing at the moment. I've got about 15 or so MMOs installed at once at the moment, and I'm trying to settle on one of those, trying to find one I'm enjoying for its moment-to-moment gameplay, and none of the traditional MMO stuff is doing it for me anymore, and Lotro included. I mean, I like the backstory and the world and the lore, obviously. That's its big selling point. It is the premier Tolkien experience. But also, I think the Warden is somewhat insulated from the usual boring tab hotkey combat in that you've got a gambit system, so you have to sort of remember your little simple Simon game of sequencing to use your combos correctly. So that keeps it a little bit interesting. But anyway, so a long story short, we talked about some previous shows. We finally got to Rohan. There was a big bit in the Great River, which is sort of a zone between Lothlorien and Rohan proper, as a sort of on-foot introductory zone, and we went through all there. That was right. Quite interesting Limelight Gorge section, an overworld zone full of elite and nemesis grade group mobs wandering the landscape. That's something you almost never see. I mean, that was
for reasons.
Well, it's something they did way back in the early days of the game. There was pockets of particular zones full of elite mobs that you just stayed away from if you're solo, and that was something that groups could go and do. And then for a very long time, they sort of deprecated that whole idea and decided, no one plays in groups anymore, particularly older games where no one is playing through as a group. You can't pick up groups just for day-to-day gaming. That's purely the preserve of endgame dungeons. No one else groups for anything else, unless you're doing it as a social thing, and in which case you just don't really care what the content is anyway. So why make whole sections of the world out of bounds to solo players who are essentially going to be your core market from 6 months into the game's launch until its end? But no, they seem to have gone back and done a whole zone full of very scary trolls and giant walking trees that take some significant work to deal with. We were just about dealing with them. They were just about green grade on level.
Okay.
We're massively over leveled for the experience that we're for the game we're playing. And that's quite interesting. There's a whole new rep there. A lot of sort of Rohan style stuff. It's all very like the Rohan in the films. You know, sort of just Scandinavian style longhouses and all that kind of thing. So we finally got to the horses after a bit of toing and fro. We got to the Argonath, the big statues on the river. That was quite cool. I did enjoy that. It does really well on the bits that are in the books.
Yes.
And there's a whole quite protracted and extended set of session play instances with the breaking of the Fellowship, where Frodo goes off on his own and Sean Bean goes and tries and kills him and stuff. You get to experience that through various different... You get the same... Basically, it's the same bit of the book experienced in 2 or 3 different session plays through the views of each different character.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you get to be Frodo as he goes off and has his massive angst attack on the hill, and you get to have some of the idea of what's going on there, and then you get to do exactly the same thing as Boromir.
Okay.
and just the sort of interesting little slants on the different perspectives of the text and the narrative. Yeah, I mean, Pippin and Merry are just referred to as that hobbit and that other hobbit over their heads from Boromir's perspective. It's like the elf, the dwarf, that hobbit, that other hobbit. It's like he hasn't bothered to remember their names or anything. It's really, really quite well done. So anyway, so you go there and you pick up the traces, you realise that the Fellowship was broken, and I think in the end you decide to follow Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli as they're trying to follow Pippin and Merry.
Okay.
So that's the sort of slant. But Rohan is a big place and you will need a war steed to cross it. So off we go to this whole side thing where you now go off and learn the horse.
You go to the horse shop.
You go to the horse shop. You go to this big old training area. You get your special war steed. There's a bit of a story as to how you end up getting it. So let's get down to nuts and bolts then. The gameplay for the mounted combat, I don't know. I like what they've tried to do, but it looks like it just doesn't seem to have really clicked. Certainly, perhaps for me. Maybe I'm just dense and don't get it, not very good at it.
It's always a possibility, but
basically,
I'm inclined to agree that it's not you in this case.
The horse functions pretty much like a Spitfire.
Okay.
It's got a minimum speed. Well, you can stop it, obviously, but it has you set its throttle and it will just gallop at that speed.
Are they aware of how a horse works?
Not really, no. I think they've based their entire design experience of this section on motorbikes, as far as I can tell.
Motorbikes with a stalled speed.
Well, no, it doesn't stall as such, but okay. So it's not you hold down the button to key. You can set it to hold down the button. They've got an alternate control scheme, but basically you tap your forward key until you got the right speed on this throttle gauge. Your horse has a throttle.
So you set the throttle, then your turning circle changes based on your speed.
Yes.
And so then it's all positioning so you can get your broadsides off.
It's basically exactly the same gameplay that we've come to know and love from the original LucasArts X-Wing games, except on a 2-dimensional plane. And most of the X-Wing games are on a 2-dimensional map in practice anyway. So you're basically galloping across the landscape. Now, obviously, this is nuts and stupid, and why wouldn't you stop and get off and use your weapons that you've been spent the last 85 levels getting good at?
Do you have special horse weapons?
You have special horse bar, so I think what they've done is you're not mounted on a horse, you become the horse effectively for what this, and it replaces your skill bar with 3 different stances. There's like a ranged one, a close one, and a tanking one. There are light bridle,
tanking on a horse,
light bridle, medium bridle, and heavy bridle, which are your Trinity horse classes.
I'm not entirely sure that makes
the horses
any
are
sense.
literally different sizes. I went for the heavy because why wouldn't you? And so you tap your speeds, and that sets your desired throttle, but that's not your actual speed. That changes depending if you're turning, if you're going up and down hills and stuff.
Okay.
So you got this quite a lot of drift between your desired speed and actual speed. And of course, because like I say, the smart thing to do would just stand still with your horse and then just stab at someone on the ground or whatever. What they do,
have the higher ground.
Well, basically, they have to make the horse worthwhile being on and worthwhile galloping at speed because they're trying to...
Are they considered a lance or a spear?
No. Well, I got spears anyway. That's what my warden uses from level 1 onwards.
Long pointy things that you can go fast and stab.
You think wardens would be natural light cavalry, really, but no. So anyway, what they've done is they've had to put all these horse abilities in, and then they've keyed the abilities' power based on some kind of multiplier based on your speed.
Okay.
So basically, the faster you're going, the more damage you do. But of course, the faster you're going, the more likely you are to just gallop off into the distance while your target sort of lumbers after you. they're trying to recreate those sort of stirring battle scenes from Helm's Deep in the Peter Jackson films, where you got these big phalanx of horse lords with the big flowing hats and stuff, and they're all galloping in line, and they've got the spears, and it's all lots of shouting and hurrah, and they're trying to recreate that, and it really doesn't come across at all. So you end up with this target in the middle, and it's like, with the three of us in our little group, we're playing through, we're all on the horses, and we end up just doing sort of zigzag overlapping loops that keep crossing as we each go past the thing in the middle and get a couple of stabs in before we get out of range again. And and obviously it's just much easier to get off and fight on foot, but they've sort of tried to make the horse more appealing by giving you lots of bonus damage if you're going at full speed, but I don't want to go at full speed because going at full speed's rubbish. Going at full speed means I'm just completely missing my target over and over again and having to do massive loops and coming back round and then have another stab at it and then go off over the next horizon and hillside, and it's just really, I don't know. To be fair, we've only had like 2 sessions playing it, I suppose, using this stuff, but I don't know. It feels majestic. The war horses you use are different to the cosmetic horses you use for travelling. They do go faster at full tilt, but you get this fantastic drift with the whole thing. They slide as they go around corners. You can do basically handbrake turns on these horses when you're trying to go around sort of narrow, twisty paths and stuff. You have to slow down or you go off the edge because they got a real drift on them. They handle really weirdly. That's what they like. They're like motorbikes. It's like sort of trying to do motocross rally with a javelin or something.
You see, now that's an idea for a game I want.
Well, perhaps, yeah. Maybe there's some sort of weird Mad Max spin-off with motorbikes or something. I don't know, but yeah, it's like, I know what you're trying to do here, and yes, I've seen the films and read the books as well, and I know what's needed, and clearly they thought, all right, we're going to have some kind of mounted combat, and so they've decided to go down, instead of just tacking it on as extra abilities, letting you actually fight while you're on your little travel mounts, they've decided to try and go for some weird pseudo-vehicular combat, which I'm reminded of Auto Assault. Okay. That didn't really work very well either. No. Auto Assault, you were in cars, obviously, and the enemy were in cars, and you had some sort of wheeled tracking turret thing that could lock on and fire at targets whilst you were driving along, and you also had to use your hotkey abilities and stuff. But the problem with Auto Assault is that basic Trinity-based infantry-style gameplay just does not work when you're all going past each other at like 60 or 70 mile an hour in opposite directions. You get one shot at it. I mean, the best vehicular combat I've ever seen done is obviously Mad Max. Yeah. That was fantastic. They do this thing where if you're close enough, the camera just locks to each other, and you're basically it's no longer actual you and them on the landscape shooting at each other. You move into this sort of weird narrative cutscene style mode where you're then clambering around vehicles and trying to throw things. Yeah. That works really well. Or the Thunderpoon thing, the harpoon on the back of the car. That you have the sort of bullet time slowdown, but of course MMO, multiple viewpoints. You can't do anything with time.
No, you just slow down the entire server.
So everyone has to wait while someone in the next zone is doing a cool horse jumping maneuver. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. It seems like a really difficult problem to solve. It seems like a problem that, to be honest, I'd have just sidestepped. I'd have made it, here's Rohan, perhaps we can do something clever with your travel mounts so that you can just do your normal fighting whilst mounted instead of having to get off like you normally do. Because these war horses, you can use them to travel in the old world zones, but all of the horse attack abilities are greyed out while you're in those zones. So you can't actually use them to do mounted combat in the in the lone lands or wherever. This is purely available for the Rohan zones. Of what I've seen of the Rohan zones so far, they've really outdone themselves with distant vistas. There's some fantastic places that, for example, when you go up on top of the Amon Hen and stuff near the lake where the Breaking the Fellowship is, you go up, they send you up there as part of the story, and you get to the top and you look over the edge and whoosh, really, really impressive distant vistas. And that's something Turbine have been really good at all the way back to Asheron's Call, and all of their games. They seem to have a knack for creating convincing long distance views. And they've really started to apply that. And from what I'm told, what I've seen briefly, the Rohan zones, and there's quite a lot of them, are really, really big compared to like the Lone Lands and Hobbiton and all the rest of it. Because obviously, if you're trying to do it all on high-speed horse combat, I'm speaking from a position of ignorance. It might work well. I just don't know if I can, get enough practice in to get the hang of how it's.
Before you run out of zones, and have to do the next zone.
Before we crack on to because
the horses go away magically.
I think from what I'm told, the horses do pretty much go away after Rohan. Once you get to Gondor and stuff, it's all back onto foot, and for the rest of the game, it's like they tried it as an experiment and it was okay. It wasn't hugely well received, I suppose. suppose. I mean, I was talking to Multi about it. He's a bit of a Lotro veteran, and he does basically just stop the horse in front of the enemy and just stab. And I could see why, because it's, yes, you get all this they've had to put all these artificial bonuses to damage and ability scores and stuff when you're going full tilt, because going at full tilt is utterly detrimental to useful combat in any other circumstance. Unless you've got all this momentum bonuses, then it's just a frustrating exercise of trying to get one stab on the pedestrian target before you gallop about a quarter of a mile away and have to turn around and come back. So yeah, and we had this because you're doing that. You're doing these big long arcs. It's an absolute secondary aggro nightmare. Because as you go scalloping off over the next hillside, you aggro another load of wolves and come back in another angle, and eventually you end up in this sort of this weird unending battle that you just keep picking up new targets constantly because you're doing these massive loops. Maybe it's my bad horsemanship. Maybe I'm not a great cavalry person, but because you can't go round and round and round in tight enough circles to be able to just keep the fight on the one target, especially if they're a pedestrian. I mean, there are a few I don't know if there are mounted enemies out there. We've seen wargs and goblin riders so far, but which I suppose might count as cavalry opponents. And I don't know. I mean, the tooltips imply that there's a stance designed for galloping alongside a target and doing the battling like that. But I've not seen that happen. I don't think their AI and their pathing and their combat system is up to it doing like I said with the Just Cause and Mad Max style forced cutscene where you're punch, clambering around the vehicle, punch. When Rico tries to hijack a vehicle, you jump onto it and then it goes galloping along. You've got some blurred background scenery, but what's actually happening there is you're not actually going up a road in the game. That sort of moved to a sort of weird cutscene space, so it's almost like a rolling road whilst you do your little jumping around on the vehicle. And then once you've seized control of the vehicle, it's back to the main world and off you go again. But you couldn't really do that, I suppose, in Lotro. It's just not up to the job. So I don't know. I mean, obviously there's a lot more of this mounted combat to come. We've only just reached Rohan, and that's a whole expansion's worth of story and stuff still to see. So perhaps I'll get the hang of it, but I suspect I'll get the hang of it just as we're going to leave for the White Mountains and the Paths of the Dead and all the rest of the Gondor stuff. So I don't know, Lotro there, still going. A bit baffled by what I'm seeing so far. I don't know, I'm sort of patiently tolerating the mounted combat so far. It may grow on me, or it may not get the chance, and it may just go away again as we move on further. I don't know, but I can tell you what, it's an absolute. It was so oversold. It was mounted combat, woo! And for starters, you do not get to do mounted combat until you get to character level 85, which is past Shadows of Angmar, past the Mines of Moria, past the Mirkwood thing, past Isengard. It's your fifth fourth expansion in before you get to even a sniff of this. Now, the smart thing to do would have been to give some lobies some horse riding, like they did with the skirmishes. The skirmishes were very good, very clever, interesting, useful, sort of pseudo on-demand content style of generation thing that runs in parallel to your normal levelling through the world. The first one of those, I think, level 10. Which is reasonable, 10 levels, you can get that done in 1 or 2 sessions. And
you're out of the newbie area.
At that point, you've learned how to play the game, and now you can look at skirmishes. I think there might even be an epic battle. Epic battles are the big thing after mounted combat, and I don't even know what that's like, but that's where they've tried to, in some way, how do you do the Battle of Helm's Deep in an MMO?
Badly.
Well, we'll find out eventually, I think, if I keep going at it. But I think you can do some of those quite early on as well. But for some reason, they've just hidden the mounted combat behind a vast time sink. Which is essentially, or obviously, yes, pay up for your Gift of the Valar instant level. I don't know, there isn't an instant level 85. I think you can go to 50, and then there's another one at about 100 or 85. Not 85. So there's no way to quickly get to the mounted combat and have a look at it.
They're just not catering for new players anymore because there must be so few of them.
I think that's the case. I mean, who hasn't played Lord of the Rings Online now? Who ever had an interest in it? No one. So it's a smart move. Cater to the existing players and make sure they're happy. Otherwise, because when they go, no one else is going to replace them and your game dies. So so there we go. I like I say, I'll play more of it, but I'm just not convinced entirely at the moment. So that's Lotro. Anyway, do you want to talk for a bit?
I'm going to talk about...
I'm going to pick up my phone, which I dropped and totally didn't make a thing of. I thought that was really good.
It did make a clang.
It did make a clang. Hang on. No, I dropped it again. Hang on. Right, sorry. You carry on.
Yeah.
Don't mind me.
I'm going to talk about...
Sorry, don't mind me. I'm all right.
I'm going to talk about Forza Horizon 4.
Forza Horizon 4?
Forza Horizon 4 is another Forza Horizon game.
Okay.
Which means it's the open...
Have you not seen that Horizon yet?
No. It's an open world driving game where you drive around the country of choice in that particular one, and you do lots and lots of driving missions, or races as they're called, because they rebranded them for some reason to be races.
No.
Yeah, I don't. And become more and more popular to run up more races, and that's basically it.
Okay.
Now, the difference about 4 is the first one was set in Colorado.
Okay, yeah.
Second one was set in the south of France. Third one was set in Australia.
Very glamorous.
Fourth one is set in the UK.
Oh dear, here we go. Potholes, leaves, poor rain driving conditions constantly.
No. It's still got weather, but the big change...
Really badly repaired roads.
The big change this time is the seasons change.
Okay.
So you've got spring, summer, winter, and the other one. And yeah,
Fire.
And when it changes, when you get to the autumn, it all gets leaves down, and get to the winter, there's snow, and remarkably, the roads don't just grind to a complete halt.
Yeah, tailbacks.
Spring has bluebells in the forests.
Oh, we didn't know we needed to grit the roads.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that affect the driving characteristics and performance of the game itself?
Oh, yeah, if you're driving on snow and some of the lakes freeze over.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, it does make a change.
So you say the UK, you mean the whole of the UK or selected parts of
Well, the furthest north you can go is Edinburgh.
Okay.
And the furthest south is Uffington.
Uffington.
The White Horse.
Oh, okay. Right.
And it's about...
That's not like an entire world bit, that's different areas, presumably.
Well, it's a abbreviated version in the UK, where those two locations are about 15 kilometres apart.
So the UK by someone who's only ever seen it on a map.
Yeah. And the UK developers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't quite...
You don't need the whole thing.
It doesn't quite come down south.
Yeah.
And it's only really gets as far as Edinburgh, so it doesn't really do the interesting bits of Scotland either.
No.
Although it does have mountains that they've sort of put right next to Edinburgh in a we need some mountains kind of way.
Yep.
The game is gorgeous. It looks absolutely staggeringly good.
They do these days, don't they? Did you have to when's the last time you had to upgrade your graphics card?
I haven't upgraded my graphics card for 5 years or so.
This is concerning me somewhat. It's like
4 years.
I remember a time not so long ago when you'd have to get a new one every 3 to 4 months, ideally, to be on top of the game development. But now it seems like they've cracked the problem of graphics capability.
Well, the way they're going to get around that is they're starting to do ray tracing instead now.
Ooh.
And so if you want the games running as ray traced, you're going to need the next generation of cards.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, the UK looks gorgeous. It is staggeringly pretty, and for a game where a lot of it is just driving around, it really is a nice place to spend some time. Yeah,
because the Forza Horizon stuff is largely about the open worldedness of it all. It's not just a series of technical events.
What it is you've got a series of events you can go to. It has the showcases, which are stupid events, like I had to race the Flying Scotsman. Into Edinburgh.
That's quite cool.
Well, we stopped like jumping over it and stuff.
Yeah.
There was one where I had to race a helicopter, a hovercraft down a hill.
It's a bit Top Gear.
Well, that's the thing, really. The game is very much Top Gear, but with this one, it's also Countryfile.
Okay.
Because it's sort of the UK, so it's quite nice, Countryfile. Yeah. But it happens to be that one episode they have per year of Countryfile, which is about taking an extremely rare and valuable Aston Martin and driving it through dry stone walls.
I keep missing that one. Yeah.
The dry stone walls. You just plough through them.
They crumbled spectacularly.
Quite satisfyingly. Oh, also the central reservation in the motorway.
Yeah.
Oh, that will not stop you. It just goes like balsa wood.
Wow.
Does not do its job. The other, I did a showcase this morning, in fact, where it was Halo themed, because Microsoft.
Halo themed?
Yeah.
You get the Warthog, is it?
Yeah, it was in the Warthog. There was the Pelican flying over and Cortana talking. And,
right.
It was weird.
Okay, weird tie-in thing.
Cortana talking and saying, driving through Bamborough Castle, straight through the middle of it, saying, there's some kind of ancient fortification there. Which is quite amusing.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. There's also lots of, because it's an open world game, collectibles and stuff. There's the drive along every road, which is I always get very distracted by.
Yeah. The sort of the vast, long-scale achievements.
Yeah. And there's also smashing billboards or advertising hoarding things.
Right.
Which is, most of them are relatively easy, but quite a lot of them need to be jumped on top of a building. There's one on top of a church. I don't even know where the jump is.
Come at it from a helicopter or something.
Yeah. There's no flying, just cars at the moment.
Right. Good range of cars?
Yes,
Are they based on real models?
Oh yeah, they're all properly licensed real.
Oh, they're actual real models, not the sort of fake manufacturer names you see in like GTA and things.
Forza tends to get used by people like McLaren to launch cars now.
Okay, right. Yeah, it's a sort of simulator, I suppose. Yeah.
They're nearly all real cars. I mean, the Warthog's in there, which is slightly less than real, and also there's a James Bond pack.
Does it feel like the cars are laid out in a kind of progression, or is it just a case of find car you like and just specialise on that? Or do you always feel like you have to keep upgrading cars?
No, you never feel like you need to keep upgrading. You basically, if you do a race with a car, it will populate the race with opponents around your car's level.
Okay, yeah.
And also, you don't always have to be the right class. I did a rally in a Jaguar supercar from the 90s, and that was not as easy as it could be because that car does not have
heavy.
Well. But
drift.
But if I chose to do it in the Land Rover, which I have, which would have been perfect, it would have been fine. You're going to want an off-road 4x4. You're going to want a nice rally-ish car, but you get given them quite happily. I haven't had any issue with running out of money yet, which was an issue.
Yeah, it's a sort of gating progression.
Yeah, because this time I haven't bought the car pass or the VIP. In fact, I haven't even bought the game.
Oh, what? It's all free to play, is it?
No, I've got Microsoft Game Pass, which unlocks it on Xbox and PC for me.
Okay.
It's only the standard edition, so I don't get the VIP thing, which is extra money and money off in the game.
What's the DLC like? Is it got
at the moment it's just
or?
car packs? I think it's £20 for a year, and you get 6.
Some sort of subscription thing, is it?
No, you just get a new release of cars every so often. But I haven't bothered with that because what's the point?
Well, yeah, if you really get into it, that's what I see the role of DLC is for people who become really real fans of the game. There is more there for you.
There will be proper DLC later because there was. I mean, in the last couple, we've had a rally one where in Australia it went off to the mountains, so there was all snowy rally in the mountains, and there was also the Hot Wheels expansion, which basically just put a Hot Wheels track everywhere and you drove it, which was fun. So there will be a similar kind of thing. Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do, but I would imagine.
But as a sort of base for that, as a sort of next step in the franchise, this whole thing seemed definite improvement.
Oh, definitely.
Picked up on things that weren't as good last time.
It's just all streamlined and nice. You can get clothing for your avatar in game, which
you have a person, do you?
Yeah, which you see in cutscenes, or when you stop to take a photo as a beauty spot.
Okay.
You're driving along, and there's lots of people parked in lay-bys. You're thinking, "Are you dogging?"
What's the traffic like when you're out and about? Does it seem like realistic UK traffic, or is it all just other supercars coming the other way all the time?
It tends to be the same type of cars you're in.
Oh, okay.
But there's also
like buses and lorries and things.
There's lorries and buses, and in winter there's snowplows everywhere, which is highly unrealistic.
So what UK they're on about, yeah.
It's really fun. It's really great fun. I'm just plinking away at it, and the progression starts weird too. To start with, the seasons only change when you get to a certain point in the game.
Okay.
But I ploughed through all of those in about 3 hours without doing that many races because I was getting so many points just by driving across the
spring,
world.
Summer, autumn. Yeah.
So I'd be in each one for about an hour until
literally watching the peaks like snow coming down and then going up in like stop motion.
And so now that I've gone through all that and it's demonstrated them all to me, each week there's a new season for everyone. So at the moment it is
keeps things
autumn.
Interesting. Yeah.
I assume next week's going to be winter.
That's generally how it goes.
Yeah. The game will change over time.
If it's really set in the UK, it should probably just roll a dice any given week.
Yeah, really should at the moment. It's like our weather's broken. Did anyone do anything? We should probably check to see if we've done anything like really.
Check the thermostat.
Yeah. It is tremendous fun, and I really enjoy it.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to talk about Warhammer Online. So, I had this weird hankering.
I have a question.
I don't know. Yes?
Didn't that get cancelled?
It did. Yes, it's closed.
Yeah.
But as it closed, I think there was like the usual, we should do an emulator. Yeah, keep the flame alive, that sort of thing. The usual sorts of things you see at the end of any MMO sunsetting. But remarkably, they've actually done it. This one.
Wow.
So yes, it's called. You'll have to Google for it. It's called Return of Reckoning. I don't even know if they've actually used the Warhammer name. It seems to be one of these. No one's quite kicked up enough of a fuss to shut the thing down yet. So I don't even know who actually owns. Well, obviously Games Workshop owns the IP, but I mean in terms of the MMO,
it was EA.
It was EA, but I don't know. Because it's all BioWare, Mythic, EA.
So I would imagine that
if it kicked up, if it attracted enough notice, and I don't think I'm helping here, it probably could be shut down like that. But yes,
it would probably be Games Workshop who would, but they haven't, so they probably won't.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, it's there. They make no shame about distributing the client as well, which is usually the big no-no. That's usually the sort of legalistic crutch people like try and hide behind for emulation projects. Is that we're not distributing the actual game client. You need your own game client discs, and we're not providing them. No, they just got to download. Yeah, crack on with it. It's a set fixed version from near the end of it all. I think the Egypt Tomb Kings expansion thing is in there and working, sort of. I say working. So anyway, I downloaded it, fired it up, gave it a go. I don't know why I had this urge. I just remembered. I had very fond memories of, because we did do a proper static group playthrough all the way through to max level in there, and we did quite a bit of the Realm v Realm stuff as well. But I just really remembered being quite enchanted with the game's, the actual proper Warhammer world and the implementation of it as through that MMO. It was really well done. It was a lot of interesting nooks and crannies. The Tome of Knowledge was quite a fascinating thing as well. Lots of backstory and lore to experience through. They innovated and invented the public quest, now made famous in places like in Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2 and many other places. It was quite an innovative game, but it was quite a broken game as well. I remember when we were static grouping through the official live and proper game that you actually pay money for, we were finding utterly broken public quests. I think Empire Tier 4, some of the public quests there were just not functioning, placeholder NPCs, things going wrong, typos. This is like 2 or 3 years into its run, and then it died and went away. So the emulation project remarkably is there and working, and you can go along to look for Return of Reckoning, Warhammer Return of Reckoning. You probably find it Googling quite easily. They got their own little patcher type thing, which just makes sure that you're on the right bit of build of it, and then downloads the whole client from somewhere. There's a 64-bit version that I'm using. It seems to, I say seems to work. So you fire up, you start your character, you appear in the Chaos Portal in Nordska and Nordlands or whatever, and you can run around, do stuff. So a couple of things. A couple of the quests are pretty broken. There's all the beginner tooltips are missing because no one thought it would be necessary. This is not a game appealing to new players. No. There's a weird thing that I had that nearly did for me, which was that every so often it crashes to desktop and with no explanation. There's a sort of weird sound stuttering thing and then gone. And I thought, oh god, and it seemed to be positional. It seemed to be in certain places you went to in world that caused it to kick off and then die, whereas if you went elsewhere you were fine for a bit. And I thought, well, what's doing this? Anyway, so a bit of grubbing around, and the Windows application log is your friend. I feel very proud of myself. I did the proper diagnostics, dug into the Windows event loggers and stuff, and found it was coming from something in a subdirectory called Miles, which is the Miles sound system. And one particular mp3.asi type file was the module that caused the problems, and so armed with that I went back online. I do a hunt on their forums, and it's a known issue, just delete that file. So basically you go to the patcher, and after it's patched, because it will repatch the file in every time, but before you push connect, delete that ASA file, and then you get no music in game, but it works. And a less tenacious person might have given up at that point and not bothered playing. A less tenacious
person would have written an entire emulator for a dead game as well.
Yes, quite. I mean, you've got to really want to go, but it works. It's after a fashion. You could get enough of it's essentially, I wanted a kind of interactive wander around postcard rather than a determined to go at getting back into. I've not tried any Realm v Realm stuff. Apparently, there's quite a thriving population of about 500 or 1,000 people there sometimes. And that's all going on in the Tier 4 RVR lake, obviously. I mean, I'll have to work way up the levels. I don't know. It's there now. I can tinker with it when I like. I just wanted to have a wander around the Dark Elf starter area in particular, and some of the other areas. It's just really nicely designed world in there. But yes, it's plagued with all sorts of problems. I mean, when you update quest stages, the NPC will literally vanish and another one reappears in front. A lot of the quests that involve doing complicated things like escort, go and find a person, capture them, and escort them back to the place will just auto-complete.
Okay.
Because they couldn't work out how to make those work, so they're just, all right, you just talk to the NPC again and it's complete, done.
It's my idea of questing.
Yeah, exactly. I've done that thing. Okay. You're good to go.
You haven't got very long.
You haven't. You've just stood right there. I've done it. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a very rough and ready thing, but then, now I think about it, the official live released game itself wasn't hugely a huge exemplar of software QA practice. So, yeah, it's there and it's interesting. I mean, I don't know how involved I'll get or how much I'll play. It does have a bit of a reputation for somewhat authoritarian, oligarchic types of GM and game masters and dev type people. You step out of line on the forums and you are gone. Apparently, but then why it's their game. They put the work in. It's up to them. So they can run it how they like. But apparently you get quite short shrift complaining about anything at the powers that be who run this thing. So just shut up and get on with it or go away, I suppose, is the attitude, and that's fine. That's utterly fair. So I don't know. I got to sort of just work my way down the sort of storyline trail through the PvE areas. I might dip into the RVR just to see if it works and how it works. I imagine most of the testing and QA and work has gone into the RVR stuff, because that is the main reason you are playing Warhammer Online. It's not it wasn't widely renowned for its PvE, although I enjoyed the PvE of it, and indeed the public questing. Although it'd be interesting to see if any of those actually work, because that was quite complex even back then.
That never worked at the time.
It was so it often broke in the real game. So so there it is, Return of Reckoning. It's one of these remarkable emulation projects that has actually borne fruit. It is more or less there. I guess they're still chipping away at it, still fixing things, but fundamentally works and allows you to play. So I mean, I can count on one hand out the number of useful, successful emulations I've seen. I mean, EverQuest 1 there's a Project 1999 thing there that you can find. The Star Wars Galaxies one, there was a lot of love for that game, so there was a lot of determined thing. And I think the NGE did it for that. The whole combat upgrade in NGE, that started the clock ticking, and that was at that point people started harvesting telemetry, because even before the game closed, years before it closed, people wanted to make their own emulated version of a pre-NGE game anyway, so that sort of gave it a bit of a bump start. I think World of Warcraft emulation is a well understood science. There's lots of them out there. Mostly pre-Burning Crusade, but but just finding a dead MMO, because when they're gone forever. They were real places for me, places I spent time, places I enjoyed. Even if they only existed digitally and virtually. And when the servers are gone, that's it. No more. You can never visit them again. In the same way that you could decide to just get in a car and go and visit the town you grew up in real life. But so it's heartening to have a last chance to see another look, to have another go, to have a look, and that's what I'm doing with Warhammer Online. I mean, I'm sort of reminded about how grindy the combat in there is. It is your basic hotkey combat, and that's basically the same team that Dark Age of Camelot, and then they did that, and then they went on to do the Old Republic. So and I'm replaying that a bit at the moment, and that's quite by the numbers, watch the clocks type boring combat gameplay that's sort of reinvented again and again. So a bit of a nostalgia trip. I don't know how seriously I'm taking it, but it's nice to be able to just go and have another look anyway. And you don't even need to have had your original discs.
Can you download the server and run it locally?
I don't know. This Return of Reckoning is, I suppose, the server that is being run off of the code that is the most complete Warhammer emulator out there. I suppose you can get to the code and run your own. I don't know. That's probably a bit more complicated.
Yeah, I quite like the idea of being able to run it yourself. Because
you'd have to have
these guys can.
I think there's a GitHub and all that sort of thing. Yeah. So, I mean, I think the point of having, it's all very well writing your own MMO emulator, but if no one's coming to play it with you, then you can't recreate that wide scale feeling of a proper MMO. So there needs to be a kind of official server to go with most emulator projects, and I think this is that for that particular project. I don't know if the code's generally available or whether it's a closely guarded secret by an elite few who lord their power with like tyrants. I don't know, but there's certainly from a player perspective, it's available to have a go and have a look at. Whether you like the thing or get on with the community or just can't be having to dig out your own application failure logs from the depths of the administrator tools in Windows. It's a whole other matter. But it's the ice cream van.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Started coming down the road again.
Oh, blimey.
There'll have to be another intervention.
You might have to talk for a bit while I pop outside. No. Go on. Anyway,
When this cold.
So yeah, Warhammer Online is still playable, but for how long, who knows?
That's awfully loud.
Fucking right outside. Stop me and buy one. Right, yeah.
No one's going to buy anything.
Okay, you're going to talk for a bit and talk quite loudly.
Okay, I've been playing a bit of No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky. Is that ready yet?
Yeah, we'll see. You play as Norman Sky, who
Norman Sky.
wakes up on a planet with no memory of what's gone on before and has to go find his ship and figure out what's going on and do stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Liking the premise so far?
Well, it's the same premise as every.
Yes, and I do like it.
Yeah.
It's a good premise.
Yeah, okay, so this is the updated versions that would say they've been constantly updating.
So what, are they about 4 or 5 large updates in now?
Ever since
different features?
In the summer, they released a very well-featured update.
Yeah.
They've been adding more and more every month.
Some Atlas Rising or something, was it?
They've been adding more and more. They're just adding motorbikes.
Oh, cool. Talk to me when they've got hoverboards.
Okay.
That's the next big thing coming for Warframe. We're all very excited.
So I've been playing the updated version, started a new game, and over the last couple of months I've been plugging away at it and doing stuff. So the gameplay is the same as before. You wander around a planet, you shoot things with a mining laser to get resources. You get too many of these resources and the sentinel droids try and kill you, which is still just as annoying as ever. Because
a meditative procedural planet exploration game probably doesn't want a 5-star wanted system slapped on the top like
for doing core gameplay.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're trying to do a big build project, quite often I find myself just stand there and just wait for this thing to bugger off. I could kill it, but then more will come.
Yeah, that sounds.
So all I want to do is take down this tree, so I can
unnecessarily
power
punitive.
Something. Yeah. So you start off, then you find your ship, then you go into space, and then you discover that there's many, many planets, and hyperdrive you can use to go between planets. And what you're basically doing at that point is following a route to get to figure out what you're meant to be doing. And that leads you to the centre of the universe. We ignore that.
Okay, fine.
So I've been playing all of the other bits which they've had on top of that. So the base building, the capital ship stuff.
Capital ships?
Yes. Okay. When you go into space, after a couple of jumps, you get you'll jump into a system and there'll be a alert because there's a capital ship being attacked in front of you. Now, if you help them and blow up the people who are attacking him, because it's got space combat, then you will get to that carrier.
Okay.
And then what you can do then is you can hire other frigates and build up a nice large fleet, which
homeworld.
Closely resembles Battlestar Galactica. And then you can send them off on missions.
That sounds cool.
And they have stats and they level up. So you might have a trade 10 or a combat of 3. And so you need to make numbers up and send them off. And they'll go off and they'll spend a day doing stuff and they'll come back and they will...
See, that all does sound quite engaging, quite interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. They'll come back, they might be damaged, in which case you've got to fly over to the ship, get off, wander around to the systems and repair them by either feeding enough platinum or silver or whatever into the system to fix it. Yeah. So it's quite nice. So you have to, if one of your trade ships is damaged, you have to fly over there, land on it, hop out, walk around inside the ship to get to, say, the engine and repair the engine, which is quite nice. I like that.
So I've been missing Space Engineers a bit, but it was a bit... The Space Engineers is very, very grindy, and I was just thinking...
This is very, very grindy as well. And it's nothing like...
I'd love something like Space Engineers, but more engaging and more lively.
There's no real creation. What you can... Inside your carrier, you can create rooms.
Yeah.
And it's got a really nice system, actually, for... you basically start off with a corridor with a big room at the end, and then he said you're going to need a command center to be able to send your fleet off to do missions.
Okay.
So you just point at one of the walls, select the room, and you create the room behind it.
Okay.
And so you carve it out, and you've got corridors you can put in, ramps going down, and things. So you can make a really complicated little internal ship design. I don't know why you'd want to, because there's no real need to.
Well, yeah.
But
it sounds like it does sound like a game that's about the doing of things rather than the getting stuff at the end of it all.
The problem I have with sending the frigates off is it gets so expensive on fuel, which I'm having to mine on planets, that I decided after a while, I can't be asked for this. I'm going to go live on a planet and make a base.
Yeah.
So I flew down to a planet, found a planet which was almost suitable, apart from the deadly radiation storms every 30 seconds.
Bring an foil umbrella, you'll be all right.
So you create a base by, first of all, you put down a base computer, which is sort of a pedestal that enables you to build a base there. Then you put down a floor and a building on top of that. You either do it by putting down the floor and the walls and the ceiling in a modular Fortnite-y kind of way.
Yeah.
Or you just put down this bump square room, then bump door on the side, bump corridor coming out, which is a lot easier.
Sounds quite straight. It's quite simple then.
Yeah. But you can do relatively large sprawling bases, but they're always going to look a bit similar. So you start doing that, and then there's 2 different quest paths that you have to do for your base, because they did one at one time and then the other one later. And
joined up systems.
Yeah, joined up systems, and they both give you useful things. It's just if you do one of them first, then for most of it you're going to be getting better things than the other one, except for the thing at the end of the other one is the most useful thing, because it enables you to land your ship on a landing pad, which means you don't have to use fuel to take off again. Which bizarrely is the most valuable thing you can have in that, because otherwise you just spend all your time gathering fuel to be able to take off. You can only take off about 5 times.
Yeah. I imagine the gathering probably gets a bit boring after a while.
So the one we get off the base computer, that mission line, basically, it says, right, make one of these. So you say you'll make this refiner or a atmospheric harvester, which will get oxygen out of the air or whatever. And then it will say, okay, come back in an hour and a half. So I'm looking for new missions. And then I think, it wants me to come back in an hour and a half.
Right.
Screw this, I'm going away for a day. Because I don't want to be left wait.
Yeah.
Because
game loop issues.
Yeah.
That sounds of it.
Yeah, fine. If you don't value my time, then why should I value yours, you stupid game?
Well, quite. Yeah.
So
don't take that crap from these games.
No. So it took me ages to get through all that. But in the end, I did get through all that and unlocked all the bits on that. But in the meantime, I was doing the other base missions, which is you put down a base, a station in your base, and you get an alien dude who will do science stuff for you. And then you unlock a bit more, and you get a technology dude and a weapons dude.
Building your own Starfleet.
Yeah, effectively. And so only one of those so far has told me to come back in an hour and a half. So I went away for a week.
Right. Punish them.
Yeah. If you tell me to go away an hour and a half, I'm just going to go away and then only come back to your game when I remember it exists.
Yeah. That's the problem with waiting as gameplay. I could be just in your game waiting, or I could just stop and go and play another game. Yeah.
I got Forza in the other window to play that.
Yeah. You have to really deserve to make your players wait.
Yeah. So the base people missions are a lot more interesting than the base computer missions, and they unlock more useful things like refineries that you can build inside your base. So you put down one of the big square rooms, you put a refinery in the middle, but you then got your refinery that doesn't need fuel, which is nice, because otherwise you just have to keep plugging carbon into it.
Yeah.
So you're constantly cutting down trees.
Which makes the police robots angry.
Yeah, which makes the police robots angry. Yeah. Compelling gameplay loops.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was fascinated by No Man's Sky when it first was announced and stuff, and I've been sort of following it ever since. But I keep waiting. I keep thinking, I probably ought to play that. But then I just it's a torrent of negativity, and I just think, okay, maybe I'll wait.
Yeah,
and it sounds like they are sort of making strides to flesh it out and fix it.
Yeah, it's getting better, but it doesn't solve the fundamental issue, which is what do you do?
Yeah.
I mean.
Are you missing some rollicking 8-hour narrative adventure story where you're the lone starfighter and there's a sassy sidekick co-pilot woman? And
I'm missing the sense that there is things to do in this world, like build something interesting.
You're not supposed to be like deciphering monoliths or something, or finding a big secret at the centre of the galaxy.
Yeah, you are meant to be, but that's really boring.
Oh well.
It doesn't have that Minecraft thing of I can just play in this and do stuff and be happy.
Famously presents you with no objectives or goals whatsoever.
But still manages to let you come up with objectives. In this, I can gather resources, but my inventory is really
things to do. Isn't
my
it?
inventory is really small, and it's really annoying. So I'm going to have to not be able to get all I want.
No.
And the sentry robots are going to come and shoot me after a while because they don't want me to gather all these resources.
It's like the game's punishing you for playing the game.
Yeah. And the general hostility to you doing the gameplay loops.
Yeah.
It really is a bit.
Is there an option to turn the Sentinel robots off?
You can start off on pacifist at the start, but you can't change it afterwards, as far as I can tell.
So it's like creative mode,
Yeah,
I suppose.
and I don't know how much that would damage the rest of it, because some of these missions you do have to go shoot the robots because we go take out a depot or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. It's weird and it scares me.
I'll probably give it a go at some point, but I suppose by the sounds of it, still wait further.
No, it's getting more and more in there.
Yeah.
It's just it needs something compelling to do.
Did you say they added multiplayer? It's got like 4-player co-op.
It has multiplayer now, yeah. Yeah, but again, it's a little bit janky, and it really doesn't have anything for you to do.
There's sort of 4 of you
Apart
trying to
from-
find something to do instead of just one of you.
You're working through the quest together, but all
Yeah.
the quest do is unlock the stuff you can do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I briefly talk about Stellaris. I'm playing that still. That's my thing at the moment. So in all of this, like 40 or 50 games that I play about 2 minutes of each and then get bored, Stellaris does seem to stand out still. I still keep coming back to it over and over and playing great big long sessions of it and thoroughly loving it. I mean, just the look and the feel and the design of it all are absolutely spot on, and the gameplay loop, as it were, in there is very compelling. You know, your empire is constantly developing, growing, changing, responding to new and different threats and objectives and agendas change and so on. Neighbours. It's really good sort of empire builder type 4X game. No, not 4X. That's a different thing. That's elite and stuff, isn't it? Yeah, it's your civilization management game across the stars, and it is a really good one. I mean, they're perhaps a bit cheeky with the vast quantity of additional DLC that you have to keep getting all the time, or don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can spend hundreds of pounds on all of it, but yeah, it's a real sense of a game that's continually being looked at and worked on, because you get some of the improvements and updates for free anyway. You don't necessarily have to keep buying the DLC all the time. So that didn't survive my... I did actually. No, I did. My big save game did. But I started a new one anyway. Cause,
of course.
The early game's often the best bit in these games. And I just clicked random on the race. So I ended up with a race of oceanic beetle-type creatures who are highly fundamentally spiritualistic and quite authoritarian. It's like a big religious theocracy of sea beetles who are quite short-lived, which means your leaders die quite quickly and you have to keep replacing them quite often, and they breed very slowly. So they're right on the edge of useful Darwinian survivability as a species. But I'm working with them. I take what I've given and I'm getting on with it. And our sea beetles are now got a massive wedge of the galaxy, about big, about a sixth of the radius, I think.
Yeah.
So that's good. And I've decided to go with the pacifist strategy of buying off all my neighbours with free food so they don't kill me.
Fair enough.
Which worked quite well actually in Stellaris. There's only a very few who've got really bad hard-coded xenophobic stats who you just can't do anything with. And I think one of them's next door, and they attacked me and I fought them to a standstill, and that's fine with me. I didn't go in for trying to claim loads of their systems. I just wanted them to not impede my continuing development, which worked well enough. Now I'm developing up and up. Got quite a lot of the tradition sort of perk things filled in. I keep hearing about the end game of Stellaris. It's designed with a sort of beginning, mid, and end game with your progression as you go, with these various alien ascended empires and fallen empires sort of suddenly becoming belligerent halfway through the game, and then some end game galactic threats and things as well, which I've never seen. Things I've never finished a game of Stellaris. I don't even know, because the years are a bit weird. I can't. It's not like Civilization, where it starts at 10,000 BC and finishes at 2000 AD. It starts in like 25 something and just goes and goes, and I don't even know where the end is, what I'm aiming at in terms of dates. So tricky, but I'm just loving the micromanagement moment to moment gameplay of Stellaris. I keep dipping in and doing bits of that here and there. Very good. Very good in this time of gaming troubled waters and crisis for me at the moment, and I don't know where I'm going to end up with it all. But all change. It's the September, isn't it? It's the autumn.
Cheers.
All change. Everything changes on telly and in your work life stuff, and the seasons outside. Gaming's the same for me a bit. So anyway, that's about it really. What did you learn this week?
This entire month, what I've basically learnt is that there is a never-ending supply of scenery that needs painting, and the scenery keeps coming somehow, and
Really
it never
getting into
ends.
the modelling then,
and
yeah.
it just keeps coming and coming and coming, and it won't end. And I'm scared.
I learned how to make Mornay sauce.
Oh,
Yes, which is a daughter sauce of one of the 5 mother sauces of traditional French cuisine. I've decided I'm going to become sauce expert, saucier or whatever. I'm learning all the sauces of French
HP
cooking.
sauce, ketchup.
yes. Bechamel sauce, your white sauce, which is butter.
Is that the one where
butter and flour as a
if
roux?
two sauces are in a scene together,
Yeah.
and they talk to each other?
No, that's something entirely different. No, it's right. You mix your butter with your flour to make a roux, equal proportions, like a paste. Then you heat milk and slowly stir that in, and that's your white sauce. That's bechamel sauce. Very easy.
Okay.
That is one of the 5 mother sauces, and from there you can derive any number of daughter sauces. So I went with Mornay, which about 30 grams of Gruyere cheese, slowly melted in and stirred, salt and pepper. Boom, cheese sauce. Very good. I'm very impressed with my first foray into exotic French cuisine.
Yeah.
Might try Béarnaise next.
I apologise to any French people listening at pronunciations and whatever facts were wrong in that.
Yeah. So there's some stuff. Anyway, do your spiel.
Go on to hannahbowdesign.com. You can find our previous episodes and the old podcast as well. And you can go to YouTube where you can see the video version of us doing this.
And some hiking.
And some hiking. And lots of hiking coming up. Yes, the hiking will be out in a couple of weeks and be every week for however long. How many days were you gone for?
4.5 in the end.
So 5.
5 days worth of stuff, yeah. 5 episodes.
Did you go insane and do 6 hours on any of those days? Video?
A bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I did. I was down for 11 miles on one day and I did about 18. I just couldn't stop. I got that tunnel hiking thing going on again. Anyway, with that, we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.